terms of a green roof, the easiest way to describe a green roof, if you've got a park or a garden on a roof, that is a green roof. It's got soil and vegetation. But the majority of green roofs in the Northern Hemisphere aren't really parks and gardens. They're more ecological landscapes. And so they're like grasslands. And for a country like India, it's going to vary from the south of India to Simla in terms of what the vegetation is and what it's going to do. But I know there's a lot of green roofs planned. I've seen schemes in Bangalore, I've seen schemes in Mumbai, and I've seen schemes in Delhi. But why do this? You can do it for beautification, but the real reason why we do it is actually to do with sustainability. And the amount of heat that falls on a roof in a city in India is going to actually have a negative impact on the use of air conditioning within that building. And we know that green roofs can significantly cool the upper floors of a building and therefore reduce the use of air conditioning. So we use a figure of about 4.15 kilowatt hours per square metre in the Northern Hemisphere, but it's probably a lot more in a country like India. And the other thing is, aside from your monsoons, you're going to start getting more intense storms which come out of the ordinary, which could potentially cause flash flooding. And so putting soil and vegetation on the roof can actually hold that water temporarily and actually help alleviate some of the issues with what we call, surface water management, and actually keep it on the roof, let it evaporate and stop floods. So there's two major things which all cities in the world are coping with in terms of climate change adaptation. One of the benefits is that your waterproofing is protected from the elements, so that actually it doesn't have to be renewed, so you don't get so many leaks. And then the other private benefit is you get these cooling savings, which can be very good, especially if you're a corporation, because you can reduce some of your carbon load through air conditioning cooling. There's potentially savings in terms of your relationship to the water utility in terms of you storing rainwater, and they're more like kind of headline benefits. But also by putting lots of vegetation and soil into cities at roof level, because if I went and looked at the city of Mumbai, I would have thought nearly 60% or 70% of Mumbai, the land area is roofs. That's what it's going to be. So people lack green space. Now, green space can make people healthier. It can reduce air pollution. It can take out airborne particles. So if people have got access to green space, and the 21st century is going to be the century of the urban dweller, that more green space is actually going to have benefits for the whole of a city's citizens, because they're going to be healthier. They'll be able to go to places where they can relax and they can get rid of air pollution. And so it's a very broad but very specific way of dealing with many issues that cities deal with in terms of sustainability, climate change adaptation, and actually well-being of the people in it. And also in some cities, it will be very, very appropriate to grow vegetables on green roofs, to grow food, to engage urban people in actually growing their own food. There's a very interesting guy in China who moved to, I think it was Shanghai, and he set up about 20 watermelon farms on roofs in Shanghai. That's become an industry for him. So, there's lots of angles to this. There's a lot of urban farms now in Brooklyn. There's a really famous urban farm. There's about 2 or 3 in Chicago. So it fits everywhere. But what a lot of people do in the carbon or the sustainability agenda, they're looking for one benefit, and maximize that benefit. So one of the first conversations we had was, well, let's put all the solar panels on the roof, because that's a really good idea, and make loads of renewable energy, and we'll save loads of carbon. So one of the main projects that I'm involved in at the moment is the Biosolar Roof project, is where we can say you can put the solar panels on the green roof, so you've got renewable energy, but you're also storing water, you're cooling the building, you're bringing wildlife into the city, and also, if people can see that building or they can access that building, they've got access to green space. Now, I've been quoted in the UK as saying green roofs do more benefits than any other technology in the world in terms of sustainability, but they do them medium well. But in the built environment, we're always looking for something that does the maximum most. And that is why cities and the public should view green infrastructure like green roofs and green walls in a far more rounded, what we say a lot in Europe at the moment, in an ecosystem services way. The cost-benefit analysis that cities like New York have done and Portland, Oregon have done, I mean, most of those have been done in the United States of America because of the way that their market works. So to justify a city doing green roofs, they've got to be able to justify it in terms of, how the city pays for it, why it's justified. And so over the last 10 years, you can Google green roofs cost-benefit analysis, and you can find cities have gone into absolute detail of justifying why they should do it. And generally, in a North American city, it's about stormwater is the main generator, because the city is responsible for the stormwater system. And if they can save money on grey infrastructure by using green infrastructure, and Philadelphia is famous for this, then they will put green infrastructure in. Then you get all the other benefits: less air pollution, less need to cool, less need to, more wildlife, more access for people to have green space. So that is there. And it's certainly been done in Singapore, because Singapore, nearly every new building will have vegetation on it, because that is what the Singaporean government says, and they will pay for that. Now, some cities incentivize it in the world. A city like London doesn't incentivize it. It just has a planning policy which says, most new developments should have or are expected to have vegetation and soil. And so whether it's happening at a marginal level in a country like India, at some point in the next 5 years, it's going to happen, because it's going to happen in nearly every single city in the world, green roofs and green walls.